We are live with the Green Teamers podcast. The Boston Celtics now take a 3-1 series lead over the Orlando Magic. They win this game 107-98, I think it was. That's what of course, the score goes off my TV as soon as I need it. 107-98 is your final score. Skaz, I did not want Orlando, but I'm kind of sitting here glad that they got Orlando because this series so far, as they're up 3-1, is proving that they can win a bunch of different ways. And how the Celtics won tonight was early on in this basketball game, it was Orlando was not giving the Celtics the three-point shot. Orlando was giving them Porzingis as a rim runner, which is something that he could do, but you don't necessarily want him doing because he's a turned ankle away from missing playoff games, which is not what you're looking for at all. And then in the second half, they got the three ball a little bit more, and it was Jason Tatum closing out the game. Is that too strong in saying that, Skaz? Because I think Jason Tatum closing out the game is important. And also, and this is something I've been pounding the desk with, is the Celtics made their free throws. Tatum, 14 of 14. Overall, as a team, 30 of 32 from the line. That's the difference in this basketball game. This is the difference in this rock fight of a series against Orlando. Skaz, your opening thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're all over it. The Porzingis thing and them winning different ways. You saw it tonight. Porzingis finally started to get a little bit of a rhythm going, but he was in foul trouble, and that just stopped his momentum, multiple times. And Tatum down the stretch. I thought Tatum was great down the stretch. You mentioned the free throws. I heard Van Gundy say he missed, he was 0 for 4 in game one and hasn't missed a free throw since. They had that play. Al, I thought, you mentioned Tatum down the stretch. Horford, your guy, Horford, old man Al was absolutely tremendous down the stretch. Defense, getting an offensive rebound. Pritchard got a big offensive rebound. Derek White had a couple buckets down the stretch. But, yeah, that was a complete team effort. You mentioned the Magic's defense. They're the best, defensive three-point team in the league. They defend the three. And I agree with you where you say that's a good thing for the Celtics, that they're going to have to switch it up, show they can win different ways. They've been around 33s in this series a game, a little under in some of them. And for the season, they were 48, 45, 50 sometimes. So it's an adjustment. But I think, Mazzulla, I thought was better tonight. I didn't think he had a great game. The other night, I thought he was better. Pritchard scoreless, which is kind of shocking to see, but they have him out there for his ball handling. But yeah, a good win for the Celtics. A little worried about Jalen. He looked the most hobbled he'd looked in this series tonight, but a very good win for the Celtics.
I'll tell you the on-ball defense of Peyton Pritchard. I know he's like this pesky little YMCA player, as Maz likes to call him, but like his on-ball defense helped. His swatting, you mentioned the big rebound there at the end. Again, Pritchard can penetrate, and he gets under the basketball. He gets under the basketball hoop, and he can kind of cause some havoc because you're not sure if Orlando is going to collapse down on him because they're so protective of the three-point shot. So if he's down there in a one-on-one matchup in that dunker spot, like he's dangerous because he can pass well. He can pass well out of that spot. That's something also early on. The adjustments, the passing, Porzingis passing to Derek White a couple times for easy layups. That was the key. They kind of stayed in the game. The Celtics stayed in the game. It stayed close. I think late into the third quarter, maybe early into the fourth quarter, the Celtics had a 5-point lead, but Orlando had more shots attempted, which I'm sure at the time was driving Mazzulla nuts because the most important shot, as we know in the NBA, is 3-point shots attempted. But the Celtics hung with it until they got what they needed, and that was Tatum down the stretch. Now, to your point about Jaylen Brown, finger issue, knee issue, kept playing through it, which is a testament to him. But there were a couple times. There was one time where he was bringing the ball up late. I think it was during the Orlando 13-2 run, and it was right before the I think it was Anthony had Porzingis in an armbar, and they called the foul. But it was Jalen being a little sloppy with the basketball, which is another credit to Orlando's defense, where their on-ball defense was top-notch, and it really caused havoc for the Celtics. But it's good because they're going to have to fight through this with with the Pacers or with the Knicks or with the Cavaliers, somebody like this series is going to end up being a really good thing for the Celtics, and they just fought through it. And I can't stress enough um, how the Celtics have to overcome these good defensive teams. Like, would I like to see them make more than 9 3-pointers? Yes, because I think their season low. I think they've lost all the games that they've made only 9 3-pointers. So the fact that they won this basketball game is good for their adjustments, their in-game adjustments, and good for Missoula.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Magic are they're exactly what, if you were, going into the series, all the scouting reports, they guard the three-point line, they love to foul, they muck it up on defense, and they don't really have weapons outside of Wagner and Banchero, and that's consistently been the theme in this series. Those two guys have been, very good to great even in some of these games. I think Wagner was uh, really good at times tonight, made some tough buckets. Banchero again, but you mentioned how on defense they attack the 3-point line. On offense, they're terrified of it. The Celtics
Yes, they are.
the Celtics want them to shoot threes. They're begging them. Banchero had a couple open ones late. He wouldn't pull the trigger, and the Celtics were getting beat by guys like Corey Joseph, which is tough to watch as a fan, but that's a role player hitting his buckets, a guy stepping up. That's what happens when you're in a playoff series. These guys step up. Hauser's a guy who's been kind of on the milk carton, as Grandy would say. He hit too early and then kind of disappeared. Pritchard scoreless. So you mentioned the Jalen ball handling thing too. That's when you really miss Drew, is in those situations. That's why Pritchard's out there when he's scoreless. Normally if Pritchard's having that off of a night, that's going to be Holiday. But he obviously couldn't go tonight. I don't think he's going to play Tuesday night. I would imagine you don't see him in this series. And you mentioned Tatum down the stretch. He took the hard foul from Anthony Black. I think it was, I don't know, around 5-6 minutes, somewhere in there. Then he hits the free throws from the foul, immediately hits a three on the next possession. He does the wrist Selly, the my wrist is hurt Selly. Then he gets another bucket late, and then he goes 3 for 3 from the line. Yeah, there you go. Joe Murray, 16 fourth quarter points, 9 of 9 from the line. I would agree, Joe. I would say that is good and clutch. So yes, he was tremendous. He was great down the stretch, and we don't like iso ball. People don't like
No, it's painful.
when it's one guy, but the Magic are kind of a unique team in the NBA where iso ball isn't the worst thing. Normally you preach, passing the ball, moving the ball, but the Magic are so good at defending exactly what the Celtics want to do when they move the ball that Tatum iso on one of these guys that's Banchero's an okay defender, but there's no one on the Celtics that can guard Tatum. You see it time and again. So I'm usually not a proponent of iso ball, but down the stretch, yeah, give me Jason Tatum against their best player every single time.
Well, I really felt that Banchero up until tonight was the best player in the series. And maybe the argument is still there that he has been, but the fact that Tatum finished this game strong, like that's a sign that, like, okay, Tatum's feeling better despite the fall with like 5 minutes to go that you mentioned, Skaz. He seems to have made the adjustment. And maybe he just needed that game off, whether it was the wrist or I still think there was an ankle thing lingering. He's playing like he's not hurt, other than the little breather and the favoritism, and keeping to remind you, like, you tape up your wrist, as Van Gundy said on the broadcast, and it's like it's a target for you. But the Celtics with a big win tonight, I feel like, Skaz, that they really needed this win. And I hate that there's a game 5 on Wednesday night at 8:30.
Tuesday night, I believe.
Tuesday night at 8:30. I hate that there's a game 5 in this series, but if they get it done in 5 games, then that's what you can that's the best you can do at this point. I'm okay with it, but I want to get rid of Orlando quickly because they are playing YMCA basketball. They are knee as you go by, little elbow to the gut, little push after, like, and I don't think it's wrong. I don't think it's wrong that they play physical. Like, I'm okay with the YMCA style of basketball. It's when you're purposely chopping somebody that's where it's like, that's kind of on the line. Um, Especially when somebody's got a wrist injury that you started. And maybe that's I still think that that's more the reason why Tatum sat out a game is like, hey, we don't want this guy banged up anymore. And maybe that's why Holiday's out as well. But if the Celtics can can get through game 5 and win the series and get rest, get Holiday healthy, get Tatum more health, get Jaylen Brown more health, they're on the way. And it's something that I didn't think of was how many games has this team actually played when it's 100% healthy? Is it like 16?
Yeah, it might not even be that many, but yeah, it's right around there.
So they're used to this. They're used to adjusting, being down a man, down 2 men, people not at full health.
Yeah, and you mentioned the refs. I like it. You know, I know some Celtics fans probably don't, and they think it's dirty or cheap or whatever. When you're a 7 seed in the NBA, a lot of 7 seeds, a lot of 8 seeds in the NBA, they roll over. It's not a competitive series. I give the Magic credit. Mosley's had a good game plan. He knows what his guys' strengths are, and they just unfortunately have a lot of weaknesses, and their strengths are also some of the Celtics' strengths. So you got to muck it up a little bit. I think if you're a Magic fan, it's what you were kind of hoping they would do in this series. I don't think anything they've done has been overly malicious or anything like that.
No, I don't
It's
think so either.
it's hard playoff fouls. So I give the Magic a lot of credit. They're a team that you're probably gonna have to worry about, in a couple of years if they get the right pieces around them. And you mentioned like how you don't want a game 5. I think that is something that you look at big picture, the NBA playoffs right now. OKC took care of business in 4. Cleveland, they're going to wrap that. Or did they already wrap it up? I was that earlier today. I can't even remember. But
Cleveland has a game 4 scheduled for 7:30.
Yeah,
7:30. Yeah, it says 7:30 preview. Click 7:30 on Monday.
Okay,
Evening.
so you're gonna hope
They beat the Heat by what, 33 last night?
exactly. So they're gonna sweep so big picture, wrap this thing up as quickly as possible. That next Pistons series, maybe the Pistons can squeeze out another one. That was Karl Anthony Towns' playoff performance of his life. But yeah, you want the Celtics to play as few games as they can early, because when you get against the Cavs, or if you do make it to the finals and OKC is there, which I still think the Celtics should make the finals, will make the finals. All these games matter, and playing a team against Orlando can be good because it has you, mentally tough, and you're sharp. You know what defenses are going to throw you, but it can also linger. Some of these injuries are going to be with the Celtics when they move on. So let's as Leon Poe would say, let's wrap this thing up on Tuesday night.
Yeah, and the other thing is, and I know it's the playoffs and your rotations are 7, 8 deep, but 40 minutes for Tatum, 40 minutes for Brown. Like you gotta cinch that up. You gotta wrap that thing up. Al Horford, who Stan Van Gundy was obsessed with. They were obsessed with the fact that Al Horford's 38 and playing this good a defense and still contributing. Like, have you been watching? Like that sometimes I think these national broadcasts, they get like the quick little cliff notes, and it's like, oh my God, it's Al Horford. He's 38 and he's still winning and still playing hard. And it's like, no, we've been seeing this, and this is why they managed Al throughout the year, is for moments like this where he can really step up and play defense and wag his finger at Orlando Magic players and say, watch out, because I'm coming for you next. So there's just a lot going on. I will also add this, Skaz, is that Porzingis only played 22 minutes, and that's because of foul trouble. If they don't adjust how they're using Porzingis in the first half, Orlando might blow him out. Like, they needed Porzingis to be a rim runner. And I don't think Porzingis loves doing it, but good on him. Instead of trying to move the 3-point line back from 25 to 38 to 30 feet, he was doing a good job pushing off of that screen, pushing off of the pick and roll, and really rolling towards the rim. And there was one shot late in the third quarter. Oops, that looks like a bad injury. Oh no. I don't know who that is, but somebody just blew out. Looks like Lillard just blew out his Achilles.
Oh boy, that's no good.
Nope.
The Bucks were cooked anyways, but yeah, Giannis is on to Brooklyn.
Yeah, I just saw a Milwaukee Buck down, and
Breaking
Lillard is
news.
now, yeah, breaking news, hit the sounder, Stu.
Breaking
Uh
news, Giannis to Brooklyn.
yeah, Lakers.
No, there you go. I think Jokic
Lakers.
might be on his way there, but yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. But Porzingis was smart to adapt. There was a play late in the game where he did a rim run, he missed the layup, and he was right there to put it back. And that's the key, is that the Celtics, they can beat you any way you want to get beat. It's just a matter of if they choose to or not. Right? Like, um, during the broadcast at one point, Brian Anderson might have said something along the lines of, like, yeah, I talked to Missoula, and the reason why we take so many 3-point shooter shots is because we have good 3-point shooters. Partially true,
Yeah.
but that's how the team was built. The team was built to shoot the three because that's how the math works. And so the fact that Porzingis could go to a rim runner again and not get hurt and be effective that way is a good thing. And he also made his first three of the series. He made two of them tonight. He was 0 for 11 coming into the game, but that was all second half. Like, the second half is when the Celtics kind of got more of that 3-point mojo, led by Derek White. I thought Derek White was going to have to be the one to take the Celtics to a victory tonight, and because he had what, he had 30 points off of threes the other night.
Yeah, and tonight, I don't even, he didn't hit his first three until, like, halfway through the third or whatever it was, and then he caught
Yep.
fire. He caught fire after that, and yeah, he's another guy they can rely on every night. But I think the Porzingis thing you mentioned was where I was impressed with Missoula tonight, because that is an adjustment. That's a notable adjustment. They needed Porzingis to be a difference maker in this series, and he wasn't going to do it shooting, 35 footers. He was going to have to draw fouls, and he was drawing fouls. He was mucking it up. You mentioned his passing earlier. He made a couple really good passes. So that's what they need. They need, to be able to adjust. And I thought Missoula didn't do a great job of it the other night. And tonight, yeah, he had some really good early adjustments. And then down the stretch, I don't know if the adjustment is just give Tatum the ball and get out of the way, but that strategy worked out as well. So a very good win for the Celtics tonight. No turnovers at all until I think maybe like the final 3 minutes or something like that. They might have had one. Al gets called for that delay of game or over the line. I know Celtics fans were ready to be furious about that. And then you got the replay, and Horford was fully standing out of bounds, basically. So can't be too upset about that. Just a really good game from the Celtics. You mentioned doing the little things. Missoula mentions it all the time. The margins were there. They rebounded, they made their free throws, and they didn't turn the ball over. When you do those things, you're going to win playoff games, and tonight was a perfect example of that.
Fourth quarter, 0 turnovers for the Celtics. In the first half, they had 6. Through 3 quarters, they had 8.
Okay.
And zero turnovers for the Celtics in the fourth quarter. Tatum had 16 points. He was a +5. I think the Celtics. No, I there was at one point in the fourth quarter, I was watching the live box score, and the Celtics starters were all 0 or negative in the plus minus category, and it was Hauser and Pritchard who were the only plus players, and they obviously turned that around. But Tatum 16 points, +5, 9 of 9 from the line, 3 of 6 field goals, 1 of 3 from 3-point range, 2 total rebounds, a steal. Horford the rebounds, but it was really Tatum who took them home. It's the song "Take Me Home Tonight," and that's really where the Celtics hit it. Is Tatum? Tatum took them home, and Skaz. That's what they need. They need Tatum to have the ass and go for the playoff MVP this year, and that's how he's going to do it with performances like this.
Yeah, and maybe you have to give the Magic a little credit for that. Tatum's a guy who keeps his emotions, I would say, other than his emotions with the referees, pretty much in check. And the Magic of, as you said, he's kind of given Tatum the ass a little bit. He's fired up. You could see him after that hard foul. He's laughing. He's like, is this guy KCP really trying to like get me going? Like, and he did. And, I hope he regrets it. But again, I hope he does it again in game 5, because Tatum is good in these situations. Whatever people want to say, Jason Tatum shows up when the Celtics need them. Tonight was another example of that. And, they pulled away a little bit at the end of the third, and then Tatum took a bad 3-point attempt where he was looking for the foul. He tried to lean into the guy, and then Pritchard gave a foul right there. The Magic cut it to 4. It was 79-75 to end the third. And I was like, oh boy, here we go again. And then, countless times they said on the broadcast, the Magic just don't go away. And then Tatum finally, he starts to take over on offense. Horford makes a couple plays. White makes a couple plays. And, I didn't love some of the Hauser, the Porzingis, Pritchard substitutions late. Even Cornette was out there for a bit, but you can't really get too upset about it when they come out with the win. And Tatum was absolutely tremendous down the stretch.
And Mazzulla doing his press conference right now, he was asked about Jason Tatum down the stretch. Mazzulla's response: poise.
Yeah, that's poise. Championship poise right there.
And by the way, I still think Mazzulla is right to yell at Tatum, "Get up."
Yeah, absolutely. That's the relationship they have. I kind of said this to Joe the other night, but when you're watching as a fan, when Tatum hits the deck like that, what's the first thing you say? Get up,
get up,
get up. It's what you do. I think it's like a human reaction almost. Like someone hits the deck, get up, please get up, basically. So yeah, I had no problems with that. Obviously, it gets a little overblown as most things do these days, but I like that, Joe Mazzulla. I like that he is, at that fired up constantly. You saw him on I forget which call it was. I don't know if it was the out of bounds call. I think they were trying to get a timeout. It was the 10-second call when White got tangled up.
Call on Derek White, where it was clear he called a timeout, but they didn't give it to him.
And Mazzulla lost it there. I was a little surprised he didn't get teed up there. I give the refs some credit, and I know we don't like giving refs credit, but I thought they were, all in all, pretty good tonight. Yeah, I have no issues really with the refs at all in this series. I'm not a blame the refs guy. I think they've called it how it is. There's been a couple flagrants on the Magic. They've earned them, but that's playoff basketball. There's, I don't think there's anything more to it than that. And the Celtics have responded well. That's what you want a championship team to do. They don't get in the mud with them. They just up their level. They just outplay them, outclass them, and win these games. So they don't have to, throw hard fouls and worry about guys, getting banged up. That they just play basketball and win. It gets a little ugly, but they deserve credit for winning in the playoffs. It's not easy.
Al Horford had 5 blocks.
5 blocks.
Game. 5 blocks. That's the most blocks in a playoff game. Age 38 plus. Who else is on this list, Skaz? Kareem Abdul-Jabbar 3 times.
Wow.
And Al Horford.
It's always Kareem. It's always every question. It's Wilt or Kareem.
It's funny. I just saw a clip on social from the Magic Johnson thing that was on Peacock. I think it was the young Magic Johnson.
Oh, okay.
And he's the coach pulls him aside. Is like, "Oh, you got to go after Kareem." And Magic goes after Kareem, and Kareem's like, "What are you doing?" And now that's my vision of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Is this angry veteran who's being challenged by rookie Magic Johnson? And by the way, Magic Johnson was right in all of it. Skaz, any others?
Well, I was just going to say, you just mentioned Horford joining Kareem in some good company. I saw they put the graphic on late in the game. Tatum now has 30-plus point playoff games with the Celtics. He only trails Larry Bird, who I think has 42 or 43. So, 27-year-old Tatum being second most. If you're second most all-time Celtics anything in the playoffs, that's, I would say, significant company, especially when it's, 30-point game, points scored games in the playoffs. I would say that you're pretty good. Pretty good.
He's got to win. He's got to win 2 more championships, though. He's got to win at least 2 more championships. And that's the thing, because now, and to cross sports, because I love crossing sports, is you got to look at, it's great that they've been to the finals twice, Tatum and Brown. He's got to win multiple championships here. He's got to, because Bergeron got 1, Krejci got 1, Chara got 1. They should probably, realistically, their 3 appearances in the finals, they should have only gotten 1, but you got to get that second one.
I
100 have to.
100% agree. And especially when you look around the NBA with the new tax and new ownership and all that stuff, the window's not as big as we once thought it was. I think it's still, multiple years with Tatum and Brown, but you never know what the supporting cast is going to be, and their supporting cast this year is as good as you could, ever hope. So yeah, this is a window that they need to maximize, and taking care of the Magic in 5 games will hopefully send them on the right way, get a little bit of rest before the next series, and hope some of these other matchups get extended.
Yeah, we should be hearing with the next few weeks about this ownership finalization. Haven't heard anything about it. That's probably by design. But that's got to be coming up soon. I think June, whenever the league meetings are in June when the finals are happening. But I'm actually leaning more of the thinking that they're going to keep Tatum and Brown together and they'll just fill in parts around it.
Which
That
I'm
makes the
fine with.
most sense. Yeah, that
Yep.
makes the most sense. Skaz, any final thoughts here?
No, we got a late one Tuesday night. Hopefully we're back next week with a game 1 recap, or maybe even 2 games. I guess that's being optimistic, but you never know. Maybe Friday, Sunday, or something like that. I think the Celtics do take care of business. I don't think Drew Holiday will play. I almost wonder if someone else might sit out. I don't think it would be Tatum, but is there a chance Jaylen Brown might not play on Tuesday night? I'd be curious to see that. He looked really hobbled after the game the other night. I know he looked all right tonight. I didn't see him walk off tonight, but they showed him at the end of that game the other night, and he looked banged up, and I saw people pointing it out on Twitter, just him walking into the arena. He looks as though he's walking gingerly, and I know that's really, looking at it with a fine-tooth comb, but yeah, it's the playoffs. So that's what we do. So I wonder about Jaylen Brown's status on Tuesday night, but either way, I do think the Celtics take care of business, and I'm sure the Garden crowd will be very excited to see KCP. So that'll be a nice night on Tuesday. A late crowd in Boston. That'll be a rowdy crowd in Boston. I would hope for a playoff game. So
Yeah,
I'm
start
looking
drinking
forward to
early,
that.
as Tom Brady once said. Yeah,
Get
start drinking
hydrated.
early.
Get hydrated.
Let's hope, Skaz, that we are not talking about a game 7, because the game 7 would be scheduled for Saturday night. I'll leave you with this statistic. Jason Tatum is the first player in NBA playoff history with 35 plus points, 12 plus free throws, and 100% free throw percentage in consecutive games. He also had 14 rebounds and 3 steals.
Pretty good, pretty clutch, I would say.
That we are going to close out the podcast much like Jason Tatum closed out the Orlando Magic tonight. And we will hopefully there's no game 7 to talk about. Hopefully it is a game 1. Hopefully it's a Sunday afternoon, a Sunday night game 1. And we'll be back with you guys next week for the Green Teamers podcast.